You do? Well, welcome to the club.
This is wrong.
We're not live. We can't be live. We haven't called the meeting to order.
Call it order.
No, he's busy. Well, that's interesting. Okay, you can start now. We're still
Days in one body.
It's like 10%.
Usually you do when I stand up.
Usually run.
No.
You're the chair.
Wait another couple of minutes. Let's start. One more minute, okay?
We have a
We have
quorum.
to, she has to leave at 6:30, so just,
We have a quorum, we should start.
I agree. Patience. Stand on your principles. You're a good business.
the March 13th, 2018 meeting of the West Covina Community and Senior Services Commission is hereby called to order. Commissioner Diggs, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please rise. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Commissioner Arredondo. Present. Commissioner Blackburn.
Present.
Commissioner Cox.
Here.
Commissioner Den.
Here.
Commissioner Kennedy. Commissioner Lewis.
Here.
Commissioner Pena.
Here.
Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
Vice Chair Lopez. Chair Kaufman.
Present. I'd like to wish Commissioner Kennedy a speedy recovery following his surgery last week, and hopefully he'll be back with us very soon. I have no yellow cards. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the commission? Okay. On the consent calendar, we have got the first item, the approval of the meeting, of the minutes of the meeting of January 9th, 2018. Are there any requests for corrections or additions to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstained, I wasn't here.
No. So we have a 7-0 with one abstention. Okay, now, before we begin new business, Commissioner Arredondo has to leave early, and she wishes to present her commissioner reports at this time. Commissioner Arredondo.
So thank you for allowing me to do that. So a few weeks ago, I was at a workshop with the older Americans and business owners. So there was a special workshop for business owners over 60. And the U.S. EEOC Commission was there. They work with individual cities, will come in and do workshops to help the businesses stay active, understand the conflicts that arise as you age as a business owner. If there's conflicts within the business with employees, they step in and help with labor-related issues. So I picked up their information. I just want to turn it over to the city to consider maybe bringing them into West Covina and maybe offering it as a workshop to help our business owners here in the city that may or may not be over 60. So I don't know if it's other than just me submitting it for consideration.
Sure.
And
Yep.
the contact information is there as well. So if you contact the young lady in there, she'll be more than happy to talk about what they do and what they offer to the cities, and it's free. That's what I liked about it, it was free. So I thought it would be a good addition. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, because I sit on the bond oversight committee for the school district, in our recent meeting, they identified some of the, in the sports complex, that they're creating office space for the city. So they're envisioning a partnership with the city moving forward in terms of utilization. So I don't know if there's, so the new sports complex is part of the bond measure for the school district over by Edgewood. And then some of the other facilities, they actually have office space built into the design for the city. So I asked them if that was something that they were working on directly with the city in communication with either the commission or the, who they were working with, and it might be good to add it to what the commission does, because they talk about residents' needs and things that we cover. So I don't know if we should just add, my recommendation would be to add it to the sports council if that's the right place for it, or maybe create a separate council if that makes sense. I'm not sure what makes the most sense.
I would just add it to an agenda item for the sports council, because that's interesting. I hadn't heard of that, and they have a liaison that sits on the sports council, so.
Okay.
Is that at a fee basis, or is it free?
The office?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just there. It was brought up, and so that's why I asked, what's the plans for that office? If you're designating it as a city office for communications and work with the city, how is that going to work? And they said that they were starting to reach out to the city. And so that's why I asked, well, is the commission involved, or who's involved that will give feedback in terms of what the residents are looking for?
Is it available as a basis of the Civic Center Act, so that it's available to anybody in the public to use?
No, it was just a city
Strictly
office.
for city?
Strictly for city office.
So the school district built facilities for the city to utilize?
It's not built for them, it's an office space in visioning a continued partnership with the city, much like the partnership they had with Edgewood Pool. So at Edgewood Pool, there was no office space for city personnel. It was all shared space between the school district and the city. So this just gives extra space. If the city doesn't use it, it's available for school.
And the city wasn't aware of this until now?
I don't know what the city was aware of or not aware of. Couldn't tell you. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Unaware?
Is there really anything that we need to do with this, or is it something that should go to
I can get on the agenda. for the sports
facilities?
council.
Yeah, I would like to have Mike reach out to Dave Larkin first to find out what's going on with that.
Okay.
From the school district. Because Larkin sits
I'll
on.
give you the minutes.
Yeah.
I'll give you the minutes of our meeting.
Okay.
Just email it to me, and then I'll reach out to Dave.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if it warrants it, then he can put it on the sports council agenda.
Okay.
We have our meetings there, so nice facility.
All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Okay, your new business now, item 2, outstanding older American volunteer year applications. I see we have 2 applications here. Is this something we need to vote on tonight?
Yeah, I need feedback on which direction you would like to go. I believe, are these the only nominations that we received completely? Like, we didn't receive anything else from, okay, so Susie, the supervisor at the senior center, is tasked with reaching out and communicating with the county, and every year this deadline continues to get further and further, closer to January. It used to be, an event was held in May, the deadline was April, then it crept up and it was closer to, the beginning of April, and then it became March. So unfortunately, we didn't know about it until, it was too late to have more time to choose. But typically, the older American, what happens is they get represented at the county through a very nice recognition ceremony and a luncheon at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. And then we have typically recognized them at some community event and council moving forward.
So there's two applications. Do we pick one of them, or do we pick both of them?
Unfortunately, we can only pick one outstanding older American for the county.
Well, since we were just given this this evening, if we're going to be voting on it, then we should take a couple minutes and go through the materials.
Sure, and what we can also do, if the commission would like, is to move forward with the agenda, and we can always take a break and allow for you all to.
Okay, why don't we do that?
Review.
We'll pass on item 2 until the Okay, so item 3 will be Community and Recreation Services Volunteer Year application, and I believe we have no applications for that. That award. Oh. Let the record reflect that Vice Chair Lopez and Commissioner Kennedy have joined us. So with no applications for the Community and Recreation Services volunteer, what is the timeline on that?
So this is just to give you the information. We had, in the past, we've struggled to get nominations, so we wanted to bring it up extra early. In light of how we were handed the Outstanding Older American for the county, we wanted to make sure, well, at the same time, why don't we just address the Community and Recreation Services nominations. So those are due Tuesday, May 8th, so you have plenty of time. However, we will need to have you all, review anybody that you think is qualified for the community services or the recreation. We do 2 typically, but again, we've struggled to get those nominations. So in a population of over 110,000 people, I think that we have plenty of people to choose from. We'll be advertising it heavily through social media, our website, and our community groups. But you being commissioners, if there's anybody that you hear about in the community that's doing some good that we don't hear of, it does not need to necessarily be somebody that is volunteering in our community centers, but through programs and services. It could be somebody at a church that does a lot of stuff that we just don't know about. But we just want to basically get the best candidates to be able to pull from, instead of just 1 or 2 and having slim pickings. So.
Like last year. So the deadline is the date of our next meeting. So.
Correct. So the deadline to receive it is because we want to make sure that we have, in the past, you have chosen to move that deadline right up until the time of the meeting so that we get more applications. We can certainly change that deadline to do it the week prior to make sure that they all go out in your packets to have plenty of time to evaluate. But that's why I wanted to put it on the agenda to have the discussion.
I think that would be beneficial if we did get them bids earlier. So I would think moving that deadline up a week to May 1st might be appropriate. I would make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion having been made to move the deadline up from May 8th to May 1st, 2018 for submission of applications. Have a motion and a second. Maybe have a roll call.
Commissioner Redondo? Commissioner Blackburn?
Yes.
Commissioner Cox?
Here. Yeah, yes.
Commissioner Din?
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy?
No.
Commissioner Lewis?
No.
Commissioner Pena?
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart?
Yes.
Vice Chair Lopez?
Yes.
Vice Chair, Chair Kaufman?
Yes. What was the tally?
8-2.
Thank you. Okay, so that deadline is now, will be May 1st, and we will be able to review the applications in advance of our next meeting. Okay, item 4, special events update.
Sure. So I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware, with our development of our fiscal year 17-18 budget and the approval by council, special events had previously been eliminated. Through a recent city council meeting, the council did approve reconsidering and reinstating special events. So an allocation has been made and in the Community Services Department. So we now are doing special events. And with that, you have the list of special events that are upcoming on the 3rd page of your agenda. And I do want to highlight this weekend is the Cherry Blossom Festival. There's a new location. So it's taking place here at the Plaza West Covina in between Macy's and Best Buy. Or actually, it's closer to Forever 21. I apologize. So it's going to be in that vicinity. There will be a shuttle running from 1 to 5, and it'll be running from our lower lot right out here in front of City Hall. and going to the event. If you cannot find surface parking, you can grab a ride there. It's a co-sponsorship with the city, and obviously with the plaza, the location of, right off the 10 freeway, the visibility, the parking is much better, so hopefully it will lend itself to be a successful event, and hopefully any of you that would like to come will be able to make it out this weekend. We have several other events going on. Yes, Easter extravaganza, Commissioner Cox. I know
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I just
that.
wanted to let you know. Very adamant.
Right
It's
on.
happening. We have 2 locations.
With an Easter egg.
That's, well, I can't fit all the words, so sometimes it's an Easter egg extravaganza, right? So it depends. This year we will be having 2 locations, and it's to help divide up the city. In a large city like this, as I have expressed to you in the past, some safety considerations, so we're taking those into account. They will be at the same 2 locations. The egg hunt will be starting at the same time. So I believe 10 o'clock is the actual egg hunt. So we have, pony rides, petting, or just petting zoo?
Pony rides, petting zoo.
Pony rides, petting
arts
zoo.
crafts.
All kinds of fun for the family. It is a free event. But if you miss out, your 10:05, you will miss the egg hunt at both locations. So pick a park. Let me know which park you'd like to attend as we get closer. That way we can make parking accommodations. As those of you who have been to those 2 parks know that parking can get crazy for any event and sports activities that we have going on there. So the other events that we have going on that I would like to highlight, we have the Earth Day Arbor Day, which is in conjunction with West Covina Beautiful. We have Community Service Day on the 28th, and that will be focused at Ridge Riders, so we'll actually be meeting at Ridge Riders. One that we did not have on here, but is an event that's taking place at Cortez Park on April 29th, is the Parents Place Resource Center, and that's their annual info fair. They have all kinds of fun stuff for the kids to do, crafts, games, you name it, they have it out there. And that's for any parents, family, friends of children with special needs. It's a great place for them to get the resources, and it's also co-sponsored by the city that day, so we welcome you to come out. And then I did want to just touch base. There's been some confusion and some conversation with our community service group out in the community about the city funding special events with those funds, and that's not the case. So when we do a co-sponsorship, we're still developing our policy, because obviously it's been, it's been lax in the past because it was just a casual process, but we're trying to firm that up and kind of create some guidelines to the benefit of the city and also to the benefit of the group that we're partnering with, because if we're going to be waiving specific permit fees or, waiving the cost of the personnel for the setting up and tearing down the stage, we want to make sure that, information is being disseminated properly, the marketing materials. There's a logo, our city logo would go on your flyer if we're truly co-sponsoring. So we have more of a hand in it that way. The groups are still organizing the events on their own, but there is no actual hard funding for that. It's the soft costs, and it's the fee waivers, et cetera, et cetera. So in case you had heard that, I did want to make sure that there is no pot of money that we're pulling to write checks to groups for their events. So with that, you have the complete list. There's going to be more events happening. We have the Auto Plaza Reader Board, which we're advertising our events on. Right now, we have some groups that are trying to put their banners up. Our boom truck did break down at the yard, so we are now able to put the banner up on Amar like we were doing, and also here at West Covina Parkway, so just a heads up on that. And so moving forward, we have some different avenues that we're marketing that we weren't marketing before. The plaza has a new reader board, so we have a couple different avenues along the 10 freeway, which are great. And so we're looking forward to this year. Believe it or not, I know people are like, oh, so you're bummed that you have special events back, and Mike and I are like, no, man, we're excited. It's it's Parks and Rec, it's special events, it's good. So we're really looking forward. This year, 4th of July is going to be held at Big League Dreams. So the plan is to open the gates at 4 o'clock. We will be having a fireworks show, DJ, band, contests, some pickup games going on with the soccer pavilion and softball, and the restaurants will be open. In addition to, they are going to let people bring in some of their own food. So it will be a really nice day, really nice event, and hope that you guys can all make it. So more info will come as we move closer to 4th of July.
Are you going to have a special place for handicapped and disabled?
Specifically, you mean parking, or we'll have?
They don't have a huge parking space up there. So
No, we're going to have off shuttle parking. We're going to work with the local shopping centers to
shuttle them up.
Yep.
Is there going to be a beer garden? I thought that was pretty...
No, we're not gonna have a beer garden because we actually have Big League Dreams that sells beer in their restaurants, yeah.
Okay. As to the Arbor Day, Earth Day event, April 21st this year at Palmview Park, there'll be 2 trees planted this year, and they will be in honor of Ruben Velasco and Julie Shepard. That was West Covina Beautiful Board decided on that a few days ago. Community Service Day. Will there be the lunch at the senior center?
There will be a lunch at the senior center. The lunch that we had talked about costing us more money is when we had it catered, but when we did it at the senior center last year, it was cost effective. So it'll be right across the street, so we can just hop on over there.
And we just found out today Northgate will donate pastries for breakfast. That was nice of them.
Any other comments regarding upcoming events?
Just real quick, the funding for these are all out of general fund?
Funding for these are out of general fund, and some of these, like the senior events, I'm not sure which one's on here, but any of the out-of-pocket comes from donations with partnerships that we have sponsors for.
Yeah, I believe that there was some additional contributions from Athens.
No, actually the Athens, well, there was additional contribution from Athens that went into the general fund, but none of the funds were actually put into the foundation for special events. That was actually changed. And that's why council decided mid-year that they would bring back special events.
Okay, that seems to be all new business items. To old business, item 6, the Bainbridge pool update.
That's what the facility reports, or is that, I don't know what that is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped item 5, facility reports.
It's a receive and file, so if anybody has any questions about your
that's
attached
what we got
facility
today.
reports, yeah.
All right, so Bainbridge pool update.
At the last commission meeting, it was brought up that the HOA of Bainbridge would be interested in offering swim lessons to the community because the pool's, because the pool currently isn't operational and is going to be under construction this summer. I went out and met with Marge Coakley and Michael Flowers from the school district board, and we kind of went over some things. There were some hurdles that we were trying to overcome, but ultimately the HOA decided that because of the obligation they have to the community, to their community, to keep the pool available, they would be able to offer swim lessons for the amount of time they wanted to recoup their costs. So it was such a small window. They only wanted to offer lessons from 10 to 12 in the morning. So that didn't really give them any time to recoup any of the costs they wanted to. They were hoping to offset the cost of the pool, but they found out it wouldn't really be cost effective. We put them in contact with the contractor that might be able to help them with staffing, but like I said, they decided not to go that route. For the city to step in and do that would have been very difficult. We no longer have an aquatic staff. The other thing is when the city gets involved and we go to the county and say we're going to have a problem there, the regulations that they have on that pool for the HOA and what they would have for the city would be completely different. The pool was completely redone. It does look beautiful, but they have, for lack of a better word, a simple chemical metering system. They have somebody that comes by, like a home pool, comes by once a week, checks on everything and do that. But the second the city would get involved, we would need to have somebody there daily. And then keeping the chemical levels where it would need to be would be very difficult. So, like I said, there were just some obstacles, and we were willing to go through those with them and see what we could do to help and make that happen. But at the end of the day, because of the lack of time, the HOA decided not to go that route. So, if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you for the feedback.
No problem.
Thank you for the update.
I have one question. So that means effectively for this summer and forward, no swimming?
Effectively for this summer, we will have no swim program again. And then moving forward, depending upon if the school district is, I have not seen their design. So if they are in fact going forward, which the plan was for them to go forward with an Olympic size or?
They're going to Olympic-sized
Right.
swimming pool.
It's Olympic-sized swimming pool, and the initial design that we saw did not have a cutout for a shallow end. So if there was no shallow end, then we wouldn't be able to offer the swim
What do
lessons.
you mean by a cutout, like a separate
So-
pool as such?
No, so like in a, I'm just gonna use this as an example since the whiteboard's here, but so you have your standard pool, right? There are cutouts where they basically take this and instead of it being here, there's a cutout. So this still is your Olympic-sized pool, but this is your shallow end.
Oh.
So, or if you were going to, you know, create the Olympic-sized pool and add a scaled down section, you know, to allow for a shallow end. But if that doesn't exist, it would make it really difficult to run swim lessons. So we have not been in on those meetings since the initial discussion about with the design consultant. So I'm not sure what they've decided to do. And I don't know if Mike has any additional.
We obviously reach out, I work with Dave Larkin, and we express those things to them. Ultimately, what's gonna happen with swim lessons, we'll ultimately advocate for swim lessons in the community. Whether we get back in the business of swim lessons, you know, I don't know if that'll be feasible. We're gonna have to wait till completion of the pool 2020 and see where that goes.
What about simply just for recreation?
Well, for recreation,
No
even.
swim, no, if it were just Olympic size, full on, no shallow end whatsoever. Is
Right.
that then available for just recreation?
Yeah.
Because not everybody can swim and not everybody's
Yeah.
gonna look for lessons. They just want someplace to get, you know, recreation.
What the district is gonna do, we don't know moving forward. Obviously, as it gets closer, we'll get into conversations with them about all aspects of recreation swim. What I do know is, my understanding is the district is gonna be looking to recoup costs, whether it be their new track, whether it be the pool, whatever, you know, they're gonna be looking to find some ways to sustain, or at least help with that, because pool's very costly and it's hard to sustain. So I would imagine that there's going to be rec swim, lap swim, swim lessons of some sort, whether it's the city or the district doing it. You know, at this point, we can't answer that question.
But the school district isn't in the business for recreation.
But they might, but if they're gonna try to recoup their costs, they might be. You know, and it might, and like I said, there's other avenues now. For example, the city of Covina now is contracting out their swim lessons. They use, I always get this company wrong, was it Bluefin? I always get the company.
Bluefin or Blu-ray?
Blu-ray, yeah, I'm sorry, I get the wrong name. But there's a company called Blu-ray or Bluefin, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact name, but they contract swim lessons and they contract rec swim. So that's something the district might do. But, you know, the pool's no longer ours, so there might not be a need for the third party.
And I would just like to follow up with that is that ultimately, you know, in the past, there was a joint use agreement. I don't know that that's the model that the school district would have a desire to go back to. They have talked about the potential of renting it out to somebody, you know, whether it be us, you know, blocks of time depending, or a contractor or what have you. And like Mike said, I know that they are trying to recoup some costs. We do value providing swim lessons. I want you to know that, you know, with running the swim program, it was not a money maker. We broke even. It was money in, money out. So the actual notion of bringing it back to lose money obviously isn't, you know, favorable. However, it's important to be able to offer that service because there are kids that, you know, need a place to learn how to swim, and we live in Southern California and it's a valuable skill. So, and to specifically say, yes, there are people that can swim, don't have to do lessons, so whether or not they open it up for open rec swim during periods of time in between when they're, you know, swim in their water polo, we have no idea what their planned uses are at this point.
Yeah, but so if the city couldn't make any money on recreation type facilities, I don't know anything about this blue, whatever they are.
You know, they negotiate the costs. Like I said, we're 2 years out and bringing a staff
But
back.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We're 2 years out and bringing a staff back. I don't know what that's going to mean. With the
2 years
increase
for being a staff back
for
what?
swim lessons and aquatic staff.
Oh,
Our
I see.
lifeguards, all our lifeguards needed for rec swim, instructors needed for lessons.
As employees of the
Yes,
district?
as employees, as the district or the city.
Government of the city?
Yeah. You know, we don't know what direction we're going to go yet. We advocate for swim lessons and rec swim and all those things, but there's a lot of factors that are, we have to wait on the district. We have to see what happens with minimum wage, where it goes, if it'll be cost effective. You know, just don't have a straight answer yet.
I would have to think that the school district would want the facilities to be able to teach swimming. I mean, it just seems ridiculous to build an Olympic-sized pool and not have any capability or the proper facility as part of that for swim lessons, for students or for any other.
Well, I mean, but consider, to be devil's advocate, when they're running a swim program through competitive high school, they're not running it to teach swim. They're running it to teach swimmers to win,
I'm
right?
thinking more of gym classes and.
They never.
They don't use it in the gym classes anymore.
When I went to Edgewood, nobody ever used it.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago.
Yes, it was. That's what you were.
Very long time ago.
But yes, it was.
And so.
PE classes don't use it anymore.
They don't
They
use it at
never-
all?
No.
I mean, is it because that they have, because of the condition that it was in? Or simply because, I mean, the restrooms were virtually unusable?
I can't, well, they have other restrooms. I mean, they have they had other locker rooms available to them. They had other changing areas. They had
Right.
their options. I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe it's.
So it's not even used for PE purposes?
It's not used in the curriculum any longer.
$5 million for an Olympic-sized pool?
14 million.
14 million.
Yeah, 14.
What?
Did you approve it? You were on the school board.
Hell,
for
I
years.
did not.
The majority of swimming pools for high schools nowadays, just like Nicole said, they're designed for competitive high school swimming
And water polo.
and water polo.
They're looking for water polo. My understanding is that they plan on having water polo clubs there. So they want to bring in a large water
Clubs,
polo.
you mean like baseball clubs? Like
Exactly, travel,
Revenue.
Travel
revenue.
clubs?
And a master swim program. And a master swim program is for adults, for older, not older, but all adult age into seniors.
So again, is that Civic Center Act public use availability? Or is that on a, limited fee? Is it a for-profit?
Well, a pool will never be for profit. It just will never be for profit. You just try to recoup whatever. When Nicole said that it was money in, money out, we covered our money.
Astounded. Oh, wait, it gets better. Oh, yeah.
Well, this is astounding to me. It's been a long time since I was in high school, but the facilities that we had pretty good facilities way back in the 1960s. And the number one priority was for the everyday student. And, whether it was basketball courts in the new gym or swimming in the new swim facility that was built at my high school, the priority was teaching and letting students use those facilities for their gym classes. And, I guess things change over.
Well, and again,
50
So-
I think we are getting a little ahead of ourselves in that we don't know what that could be the final design. We haven't seen the final design. As they move forward, whether it's this design or just the straight
They're gonna-
Olympic-sized pool, they'll dictate, because it's their property, what they want to do with it moving forward, and whether or not they want the city to be a part of that. For all intents and purposes, we've been led to believe that they do want the city to be a part of that some way, somehow. We just don't know what that looks like right now.
But they've got start dates. Don't they have start dates for demolition?
Tentative.
Tentative for?
Yeah, for July,
Well, it's pushed back to August now.
yeah.
And so they've made those based on
What's that?
not having any decision as to a plans or?
No, what I'm
or
saying
architects and that?
is simply making the L-shaped cut is not a huge design change in terms of the scope, because they're already talking about pushing out the footprint of the pool. So right now, currently where the entrance is to Edgewood, where the track and the pool are, that's going to be pushed out. So the tree, the handball court right there, that's going to be pushed out in terms of the size of the pool.
They're gonna get rid of the tree.
Well, I don't know that they're going to get rid of the tree. I'm just saying, I'm trying to provide you with perspective of the location.
You need to get back on the school board and solve
Yeah,
all
why'd you
these
ever
problems.
leave?
So
No,
anyway,
Kennedy
and
on
I
that.
don't know if they're
You
going
want
to go
Michael,
into
right?
the basketball court
Well, never
or if they're
did.
just going to keep it. They're talking about putting solar overhangs for, what do you not call the bleachers? What do you-
Yeah, oh no, for their stance.
Yeah, for the grandstands. And, more bleachers, and they're reconfiguring locker rooms and stuff like this. So it's a whole redesign. So the 50-meter length, whether or not it's got a cutout for a shallow end, is not going to dictate the start and stop time. It's just, guesstimated on around the other projects that they have going on within the school district. So.
And we advocated. We went to we were invited to the initial meeting, and we advocated for all the things you guys are saying. But what the school district decides to do, we ultimately don't have a say in it. I would rather have 2 pools instead of a Olympic.
Obviously, this is an extremely high priority of the community members with respect to the educational needs of our citizens and our students and our children.
I have to say it, if it's a question of cost and that little cutout, maybe that would have been a better way to go than to build extra offices that the city may or may not want to use.
But the city got nothing to do with it, the school district.
No.
Okay, so we're at their, you know,
what
parking lot, we're at their mercy. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the taxpayer is paying for it.
But
And that's if you go to school or not, you're still paying property taxes.
Not all the residents of West Covina are paying for it.
That's true. I'm paying
You
for
are.
it. Absolutely, I'm
Yeah.
paying for it. And they're
Nick's not, though.
supposed to be community, you know, it's all supposed to be one community at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, so what are we fighting about? At the end of the day, they have all the say, so not us.
But
But what?
we're part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely,
services.
we're part of the community.
And we have a direct interest in what's in the best interest of our children and of our citizens. And even senior citizens like Paul here might even want to use the pool for exercise purposes and that sort of stuff.
And they should, the school district
Sorry,
should give us
older
some-
Americans, sorry.
We're all old, it's all right, I use the 55 and over at Denny's, I'm old. And you're a lot older than me.
You need to be at the board meetings.
I don't need to meet the board meetings.
Of course, their board meetings are the same time ours are.
Oh,
Darn it.
Any other comments? Well, let me just ask one thing that appears to be the case, since the situation you described with Bainbridge, the new aquatic facilities at the high school aren't going to be ready before 2020, so we're going to be in the same position without having facilities for next year as well as this year.
Correct.
Okay, so that's really a 2-year situation, not just a 1 year.
So for us, it'll have been a 3-year. We didn't have lessons this last year either.
Yeah. Okay, if there are no more comments, let's go on to item 7, the homeless plan update.
Sure, so last meeting, there was some concern about, you know, the process, the $50,000 and, you know, how that would be spent. And I did want to reiterate that the $50,000 did not actually come from Measure H. It came from United Way, Home for Good. And that money is set aside specifically for the plan. There is no residual monies available. Whatever we don't spend, we can use towards something else. It's simply for the plan. So there was a baseline for the plan, about $25,000, and then anything above that was add-ons. And the add-ons really had to do with the comprehensive nature of creating your plan. So because the grant amount was based on the homeless count at the time from last year, our homeless count was 158, so that put us in a threshold of receiving $50,000. There were some cities that had nominal numbers comparatively to their size, so they actually got 30,000. So it just depends on, there were some people I think that got 75,000. So we partnered with the COG issued the RFP because in the interest of time, this plan is due in June, so we're already in March. It goes very quick, and we are almost at the halfway point here. We have pared down and we're working with our consultant. We do weekly call-ins and have a discussion. We've had community meetings. I saw several of you at the community meeting. So we had a community meeting at Cortez. We also had another meeting which was just a focused community meeting, which is with our stakeholders, our community groups that receive funding, that are actually providing the services. We invited the school district, which was actually, you know, a great resource because we hadn't been able to pair up, believe it or not. And we're actually working on getting housing for a family right now through the school district. And a lot of these are, you know, protected discussions, and so I can't, you know, tell you who the person is. I don't even know who the person is, but you know, it is a single mom with children in our school district and in our community. So we're going to try to leverage some of our rapid rehousing funds and see if they're a candidate. We have her working with case management right now. We're going to see if we've got getting her motel vouchers. So we're collaboratively working to try to get this family in a better place. So speaking about the plan, I wanted to just let you know where we were at and the dollar amount. So basically, our add-on enhancements to our plan were $21,000. Our base fee for the plan which was what the base fee the consultant charged. I said it was about 25, it's 24,000. And then there was an administrative fee to the COG to basically coordinate and do the RFP and get all the cities on board and the consultants, and that was 1,500. So our total plan costs 46,500, and then city costs, which we kept, when I say kept, we budgeted, allocated for, like when we have a community meeting and we did, you know, refreshments and snacks. It's nominal. So that was 3,500, and that's just carved out. So again, anything that doesn't end up getting paid out directly to the consultant or the city just goes back into the hopper to United Way. So we have the add-ons that were chosen based on our community and our needs that we've seen so far in talking to our service level providers. Plan logic model, which is basically the logic of how we develop the plan and what that model looks like. A SWOT analysis, we providing staff and community homeless education, best practices to apply to the plans, training opportunities, creating measurement tools specific to the population and the plan, evaluate and draft recommended policies addressing homelessness, engagement, education, support building meeting, evaluate zoning strategies, and zoning, by that we mean for homeless shelter, and supportive services and mental health training, safe and health parks, trails, riverbed strategies, and that's basically along your corridors, especially like your watersheds. You end up having issues that happen behind residential, like we have in the Walnut Creek Wash, for example. You know, we open it, we've closed it at times, so it depends because of issues that we have, and so it's how do you create good strategies and address issues that are going along in there to keep people safe, but also to address the homeless issues that you have. So looking at that, develop transit corridor strategy. We have somebody on our commission who works for Foothill Transit and knows that there are issues that come about on the bus shelter line and in transit. And then do a data analysis of the homeless subpopulation, the demographics. Obviously, we don't know what our homeless people, what are the reasons they're homeless. We can all discuss those until we're blue in the face, but they're getting a street level assessment of that. And cost analysis on the impact of homelessness on core city services, including police, public works, ambulance, jails, and hospitals. That's a big one for us. Obviously, we do spend a lot of time and resources on addressing homelessness. So those categories alone, and the base model, as I said again, the plan is $46,500. So I wanted to provide you with an update on that. And again, we will be submitting a draft to council in April, and then going to approval in May for the final draft to be submitted in June. Yes?
What does level 2 or 3 mean, and what's the asterisk next to the amount?
Actually, that's a good question. I don't know. I know what level 2 and what level 3 mean. I just don't know what his asterisks are in here. The level 2 and level 3 have to do with, it means more in depth, and for some of them the base plan included level 1, so we didn't choose level 1, and then in other times we felt like level 2 really evaluated it more in depth, so that's why we chose the levels that we chose.
Usually when I see asterisk on it, it's like
there's usually a note,
vary,
right?
Prices vary or something.
And the prices did vary on, which is interesting that they're on level 2. And maybe the reason why he put the asterisk, because our call with the consultant discussed that that may actually be, I think this was the one, no, the training one I was going to say might be redundant. He had said that there was, they may end up building it in depending upon the data that they get and information, and so it may end up kind of going away. Some of these are fluid in that they may end up charging us for the level 1 model instead of the level 2, depending upon what they find.
But the fees are set, it won't go higher than these.
No, it's not going to go higher than those, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just so I'm clear, is this just for basically a $46,500 report, or are they going to actually work with the individual departments in the city in order to implement these strategies or policies, or are they going to work directly with businesses and residents regarding homelessness toolkits?
They're going to work with the city to develop all that. That's what they're gonna do. They're not going, once,
So-
they're gonna provide training for the staff and the particular stakeholders, kind of like a, if you will, once the plan is done, like a kickoff of, okay, here's where we're at and what we're doing. But as far as moving forward, no, they're not implementing it for us. The city has to implement it. Just like our active transportation plan, the consultant won't come in and develop that and then go and find funding for us. It's,
So what is the consultant actually providing? Are they providing training directly to the individual departments within the city, or are they just saying, here's a book, figure it out?
yeah, no, part of the add-on was to do the training opportunity, and that would be the target groups. So public works, police and fire, community services, those are the frontline departments dealing with the homelessness issues. So yes.
Okay. Are they going to work directly with residents or businesses, or are they just going to say, you guys need to figure that out?
No, I think as part of our add-on in here is to provide a training. So if we decide that we are going, our train, in discussing with a consultant, our training needs to be focused on, we are going to implement the business toolkit, so we're going to target the businesses, so we're going to, schedule a one-day training or what have you. So as we go along, we're going to have to decide what that training would be. But yes, so there will be a training aspect, but it's not going to be ongoing. It's going to be like, here's your one-time opportunity, ask questions, work out the details, this is how you're going to implement, and then we move forward as an organization with our service providers to implement the policy or the plan.
Okay, so with regard to the base fee, what kind of training is that going to provide?
That provides some level of education, but really no training.
Okay, what does that mean?
What do you think it means?
Yeah.
Well, what is some
There's
level of education?
No, I'm saying because
here's a book.
No,
sit
but
down
I
and study
think
it,
I think it's an interactive process of we're involved in the give and take of learning about aspects of what comes up with the homeless interviews. So they're going to be doing street level interviews. They're gathering information from our service providers, like the community outreach that we had with our stakeholders. We as staff level, learned information from the dialogue that was had back and forth. So from that aspect, there's education happening, but they're not actually going out and targeting and doing an educational program, unless we say we think we need this. If this commission feels like we needed another community meeting, we could implement that as part of our base plan.
How much does that cost?
It doesn't cost us any additional information, any additional money.
So, I guess the one question that I'm really curious about is, what in this is going to focus on mental health?
Strategies for Measure H. So when you're saying what exactly in our plan,
Right.
that's part of, they're going to do the training on how to increase supportive services, including mental health and substance abuse. So as far as drilling down and saying this is how mental health is going to assess or fix or what have you, triage your issue.
Right.
It's not drilling down on the initiatives of the Measure H.
Okay, so my biggest question is, okay, is this going to actually be something that they're going to implement with regard to, frontline police officers, or is this going to be something that they basically just tell administrative staff about and then hope that it kind of permeates down the line?
As far as the frontline providers as PD, there's actually training that's afforded to them by the Sheriff's Department. So they're actually already in collaboration working with the Sheriff's Department, local agencies, and they're working on doing that training. So like our HOPE team has been to training. We have a mental evaluation team. There's training that goes on with there. So that's an advanced level, but then our other officers are going to be afforded that training as well. And that's not a cost. That's just something reciprocal agencies are doing for one another. This plan per se is basically a living document that we can mold and adapt as we move forward, and it's going to advise council, advise administration, advise commission on things that are highlighted in our area, what we need to do in our community. I mean, I think it's pretty evident we're lacking in housing, but that's just geography. That's not addressing all of the issues.
Right.
So one of the approaches is housing first approach. So what they're trying to say is if you get housing for somebody, the supportive services, and wrap that all around that person, they're more successful. So
That's not true.
and we could sit here all day and debate that, and I definitely have my own ideas about it too. What I will tell you though is resources are scarce to provide shelters, and NIMBYism exists, which creates difficulties.
But it's not just that. I mean, we don't have mental health resources, period. I mean, it's the reality is that if a police officer calls in the county of Los Angeles and says, I want a pet team evaluation, basically come out to whatever individual and say, oh, this person needs to be 5150 or something like that. Well, guess what? You only have 3 hospitals in the entire county that do that. And there's only one that's even close to us, and it's in Pasadena. So, you know, I don't understand. Where, you know, is this going to help with that? Them actually utilizing that, or?
Well, I don't know. If enough cities have mental health as being a key issue when they go to do street level surveys and whatnot, then that's going to bring attention to the county. I will tell you, as a group in the COG, the sum of the parts is greater, right? Mm-hmm. So as a whole, we're coming together, and we've already voiced concerns. We've already brought things up with the county, and that is shaping some policy change. And I don't know how sweeping that will be, but I do know that they are hearing us, especially those of us who are more outspoken. So, all I can hope for is that this plan should not sit on a shelf. It should move things forward, and I don't know what that means right now. It just needs to move us forward in addressing homelessness.
Right. I don't know. Like I said, it just, to me, it's there's study after study that says that it's homelessness. For the vast majority of the homeless population can be traced back to mental health issues. And the reality is that once you get people who have severe mental health issues properly medicated, most of them are able to matriculate through society and be productive members. There are studies on that. You can't just throw them into housing and expect everything's going to be great. And that's the problem. I digress. I'm going to shut up now. So.
And what you get the medication, but a significant percentage of people in that situation, for a variety of reasons, will stop taking the medication.
So who is the HOPE team? Is it our police department?
Sure. HOPE team we have 2 police officers that are dedicated to the HOPE team, and that's basically going out, and it's linkage and referral and trying to address the issues that are happening with the homelessness. So
are they qualified to say this guy is schizophrenic, this guy's a drug addict, or who's going to make?
No, that's a county clinician, and we have that through the HALO program and the MET team. But they have resources with the county.
There's resources for everything. Everything on here, there's already resources for it. You just got to use them. The problem is most people don't use these resources. And just so you know, in my opinion, this thing's a scam. This was created to give somebody's buddy a job, because you could take this all to Morton's, the most expensive steakhouse in Southern California, for $1,000. We could have came up with this and saved yourself $49,000. I'll let it go at that.
What is the time frame for implementing this, and is this going to run into the release of this year's homeless count data, and is that going to impact anything we've already done?
So it will, the time frame is that the plan is due in June. I don't know as far as implementing it, because what I envision is pretty much like Measure A funding, where there's going to be a call for grants. There'll be money allocated, it'll be competitive. I will tell you that there's already money available from the county if a city decides that they would like to do housing. So whether that be a transitional housing, permanent supportive housing, a homeless shelter. And when I say homeless shelter, it's a homeless shelter with supportive services. So it's job placement, mental health, substance abuse, case management. It's intensive. It's not come stay here only at night and then leave during the day. That's not the kind of shelter that we're talking about. So those kinds of services, housing, supportive services wrapped into one, there's funding now that can be allocated. Unfortunately, the issue that exists is, obviously it's a political one. It's a difficult decision to have because everybody says they don't want it in my backyard, so it creates NIMBYism. And ultimately in San Gabriel Valley, we are short on shelters and we're short in housing in all of LA County. And so even the people that we have in the system right now, it's really difficult to get them serviced because we have all these resources like Commissioner Kennedy is talking about, but to actually get them into the housing, it can be discouraging because it can take weeks or months. And to you and I in this room, if I have a family that's homeless, I want them housed tonight. And unfortunately, that's not mission critical for county. That's not how they envision it, service providers in general. So, you know, it's not going to affect anything that we've done thus far, but I envision it if there being a rollout of, okay, here's when we're going to release funding, and here's what your potential pot of the pie might be. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to look in terms of allocation for each city. I just know that the message that's been sent is that you got to do the plan because that's the potential to get future funding. And the last thing I want to do is not do a plan and then find out we don't qualify for any funding because we have no plan. So.
I have some other concerns about the training portions of this and how intensive and how actually meaningful that can be. And you see psychiatrists have 7 years of training and don't know what they're doing. And you know, a couple of hours here and there for staff who really have no background in such things. I just wonder if what the focus is under this or what it should be. Is it sort of like what Commissioner Lewis asked before? Is it, you know, are you going to spend some time with each member of the police force, or are you going to pick certain people who you can do more intensive training that might be more productive than trying to give an overview to large numbers of folks?
Well, I want to be clear. The training is not by a clinician, a doctor. The training is going to be dependent on what our results are of as they go through and do the surveys and collect the data. They're shadowing the police department. They're going to be, you know, again, doing street level surveys. So when they decide what our makeup of, our majority makeup of our homeless population, yes, I agree with Commissioner Kennedy that probably the majority of us in this room right now could tell you what that makeup of our specific population in West Covina. That's how the training is going to be tailored. So I would call it more of like an in-service. It's more of an educational, it's not going to be training somebody to be a certified clinician. That's just not going to happen. And like you said, 7 years and you can still have somebody that's not good at your job. So how about a few hours? You know, it's going to be more of, you know, frontline encounters. And if your, you know, community is based on, you know, a huge percentage of substance abuse, how do you work with that person to want to take services, right? That will probably be a focus. How do you get people to want to take services? Because that is our struggle when we have a veteran or families. We tend to be able to focus and get those people services, or they're more ambitious to want to do those things. Whereas if you have somebody who is mental health issues, substance abuse issues, typically don't want to take that responsibility on because, you know, having a home and paying bills is a lot of responsibility. So there's rules associated with that.
Any other comments or questions?
Just quickly, Nicole, the numbers they're off, like it goes from 1 to 4, 5, 6, and some of the numbers are skipped. So those other items don't cost, there's no value to those other items?
So there were some in here, and the reason why he numbered them is because this is actually what we turned in to the consultant and the COG, and so they had renumbered things associated with, you know, as they pared down. And then some of the items we chose that we were either not interested in, like for example, one of the items that we didn't choose was to expand rapid rehousing. Why? Because we already currently have a partnership with LA County. We had given them $50,000. I don't think we need to spend more money on rapid rehousing because there isn't enough housing right now to expand that, and we've serviced I think 3 or 4 clients for rapid rehousing, and we can do more, but I didn't think that was something we needed to carve out and spend more money on a plan when we're already doing it.
I would imagine some of those would have been level 1 that was recited to omit.
Correct, and some of those as well.
Any other comments or questions? So I guess there's no action we need to discuss. Okay, ad hoc committee reports. Any ad hoc committee reports? Okay. Then we'll move to commissioner reports. Start To my right, Commissioner Blackburn.
I just had a question for Nicole. Did we hire any bands for our summer music series?
Well, I'll leave that to Deb and Mike to discuss.
Deb knows the calendar better than me, so I'm gonna leave it there.
Actually, I was going to mention the concert share.
Okay, you want to do it?
You want to leave
that?
I was just curious if we had hired.
We have hired all our bands for our summer concerts. We have Mariachi Divas as our first concert. Second concert will be Guardians of the 70s. That'll be in conjunction with the movie prior, Guardians of the Galaxy will be the day before, and it'll be that next day. Then we have Cold Duck as our third. Fourth is My Generation. I
Which
think
is
I just booked
which is
them.
the Beatles tribute band, right?
They're British Invasion.
British Invasion.
And then our fifth concert will be our country concert, which is Mark Easterday Band. He will be teaching 2 line dances prior to the concerts that we can do during the concert, so that'll be fun. And then our final concert will be
The pop, Katy Perry.
Oh, Katy Perry and Pink cover bands, which is Raise Your Glass and Prismatic.
And then what do we choose for 4th of July?
And 4th of July, we have Smoking Cobras, which is a rockabilly. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Do we have anything printed on that? Are we gonna have
We are going to get something printed to you. So we have it, we just sent council the email of saying this is who's performing, but our publisher who's doing the Discover right now, he creates the graphics for that, and then we'll have flyers.
on our website?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm finishing up the page for that as well.
Actually, there's a link there, but it doesn't go anywhere yet.
Yeah, it doesn't go there yet because it's.
We didn't have special events. We got them all back. Now it's like inundated.
No, we're all trying to get it back together. So that'll hopefully be live. That page will be live hopefully end of next week for sure.
And thank you to the commissioners who attended concert
Yes,
share.
thank you.
If the bands are horrible, it's all on them.
We try to go in order with who you select, with the commissioners that went. We tried, we had everybody rate bands, we put them, and we went down the list. There was a couple that we couldn't quite get in there, but we used your list and just went down the line. So thank you for going, we appreciate the input.
It was an enjoyable day. Anything else, Commissioner Blackburn?
Just thank staff for the hard work, understaffed and overworked, and certainly appreciate all your effort.
Overpaid, what?
Underpaid, overpaid, underpaid.
Commissioner Dan.
I was able to go to the youth council meeting in February, held on the Tuesday of the last Tuesday of the month. And I was sad to hear that that was Heather's last day there. She has moved on to another city, and so I think John will be taking over with our youth council now. And I think the next meeting this month, we're probably gonna still do it at City Hall, but John's thinking about moving it to Cameron Park, which might make it easier for someone from West Covina High to walk over for the meetings.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox.
I've got 4 things I'd like to discuss this evening. First of all, as you know, that the I hate to make these guesses, $3 million redo of the Edgewood track has been completed, and so that is available for non-education purposes, open to the public from Monday through Friday from 5 till 10 at night, and then Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 10 at night, and 8 in the morning till 10 at night. It's great, it's wonderful, it's extremely well lit, and right now there are full-time security guards or safety, I don't know what they call themselves, but they're there, so that adds a little bit of extra convenience and attraction to the place. So it is very, very nice. Did an excellent job, and I thank Glenn Kennedy again for helping pay for that.
I understand that dogs are not allowed.
No dogs, no children in strollers. Can't walk on the first 3 lanes. You have the middle 3 lanes are for runners, and the walkers are on the last 3 lanes. No gum, no food. There is gum on the track, but it's generally not edible. But hopefully it'll let people take care of it, and it is, it's a nice thing, and I'm glad that it's made available to members of the public. On the other hand, they have I understand this evening the Board of Education is in the final stages of approving the architect's designs for the Performing Arts Center at West Covina High School. I know that Councilman Wu has been very vocal about the possibility of having a Performing Arts Center in West Covina. However, I'm still not quite sure if that's going to be available for the public for use, and if so, whether or not there's fees associated with that, and whether or not there can be performances in excess of 100 people in attendance, you know, for the public, which involves other complications. But I understand it's a 700-seat facility, similar to that at San Dimas recreation facility. I don't know what it's called over there.
It's a performing arts center.
It's a performing arts center, but 700 seats, and it's just, yeah, so it's pretty phenomenal. And, you know, we're only going to lose 2 tennis courts, a science building, and 3/4 of the parking, but it'll be wonderful, and I think that there's plenty of public parking at Cameron Park and along the streets on Lark Ellen, and I don't know if there's parking on Cameron or not, but that, and I think they're going to have to take out some of the portable buildings on the site to build a more permanent structures there, which will take out more parking and that. So that's the West Covina Performing Arts Center, and if you hear things more that are available for community services and senior services that it's available, I'd be interested in knowing through this commission. Many of you may not realize, but this is the 1-year anniversary of the when I asked the council to consider, or this commission, to consider the issue of safe injection facilities in the city. We never got a chance to discuss that, and until the city council took that matter up along with other issues, and we were given the directive not to discuss this matter anymore. So of course we're not. Except that I did see an article in the Tribune the other day where the city council, through its profit from solving narcotics cases in the city of West Covina, made a profit of over $730,000. That's a good thing, I guess, but I did notice that part of that money, for approximately $45,000, is going to be to provide police officers with doses of Narcan or something like that. It's a drug used to stop overdoses of heroin, for a project that last year the chief of police said we didn't have. Former chief of police said, well, at that time he was chief of police, said we didn't have a heroin problem in the city of West Covina. But now, apparently a year later, it has risen to a level that now each of the police officers are going to be given a supply of Narcan for their uses. And I guess part of it is, and quite reasonably, that in case they're exposed to, especially, I don't look at Phil for any particular reason, I'm sorry, it was just convenient, fentanyl, something like that, that is highly, can be whatever. So if they have to come in contact with it, they would have to inject themselves with Narcan. Holy cow, what a heck of a place, the world we live in these days. So that, and the city of San Francisco is evidently going to open the first facility, other than the one perhaps in Seattle. I don't know how that one's going, but July 1st in San Francisco, safe injection facility in the city of San Francisco. I don't know, maybe it's part of their sanctuary city. It is still against the law, and it is still federal and state laws, but maybe part of that sanctuary city program that they've got. that they are going to have a safe injection facility in San Francisco. Okay, so my last item is, I don't know exactly how to do this, because I don't know that as a body we can ask the city council to consider and or perhaps even reconsider a vote that they've already taken on an issue. But I was watching the council meeting the other night when they were discussing the fire department and the implementation of the
Quint.
the quints, but it was more just the implementation of the last best and final offer going forward. The two council members, I believe, let go of their ideological beliefs and went to a more pragmatic thing, saying, yeah, we need to look at the fact that the city can't afford what they're offering. They're certainly not going to go to the PERB's recommendation of a city tax for fire services. And then there's two, including Mr. Wu, who talked about the ability to generate revenue for various purposes, and but those numbers are way off in the distant future and not going to do anything for our current situation. But what we can do is have them reconsider the fact that we should have marijuana grow facilities and or dispensaries in the city of West Covina. I only bring this up because in Colorado that's had legal recreational marijuana for almost 2 years. The Pueblo County has done an economic study on the impact of having dispensaries and growth facilities in their city, and they found it to be a study done by the Colorado State University and Pueblo Institute of Cannabis Research, and the report estimates that the marijuana industry had an economic impact excuse me, of more than $58 million in the county in 2016, but incurred an additional roughly $23 million, resulting in more than $35 million positive net impact. Sorry. Hillary. The report estimates that the most likely scenario that the net impact will rise to nearly $100 million a year by 2021. Can you imagine the facilities that we'll be able to, and the services that we'll be able to provide if those numbers come true under this auspices of this kind of a program in the city of West Covina?
That's it?
That's it.
Wow, are you sure? Nothing else?
Oh, I can go on forever. My throat's bothering me.
Another hour, I
man.
can't.
On that note, Commissioner Kennedy,
No, I got nothing to say.
Commissioner Lewis,
I'm going to pass.
Commissioner Pena,
You want to hear about
Commissioner Stewart.
Couple things. Whatever, last meeting we had come up with a new name for Cortez Park and senior citizen, whatever happened, where'd that ever go?
Oh, it's going. It's going on the, see, you guys have to approve the minutes, you just approved them tonight.
Yeah.
And then it'll go to the council as a one-page report and a recommendation, and so it should be going on the next council meeting.
Okay, fine. One other thing I've got, I did attend a meeting at senior citizens on Glacier Ridge.
I'm sorry?
I attended the meeting at the senior center.
Oh,
on
yes,
Glacier Ridge.
yes, you did. The community meeting,
So the
yeah.
first question she asked was how many people think that we could solve this problem? Only about, I would say 6 or 8 in the whole group raised their hands. The rest of the people obviously didn't know for sure or knew positive that they couldn't have. So we got a ways to go. So hopefully we can improve on it. So that's about all I have.
Vice Chair Lopez.
The concert share, there was a lot of bands, and I thank Deborah for being my partner to meet every band. There was a variety of country, and the reason why I pushed for this country band was because they were able to teach a country dance. So it was an additional, like, so the community was able to get a variety. And then the Katy Perry Pink was something different so that we could meet all cultures, the younger age, you know, so we have a variety. So I'm glad that we were able to get a diverse band that can meet someone's, you know, their generation or so
We
forth.
had to negotiate a pizza for that.
Yeah. And it was nice at the end, there was other cities that said, oh, this band was bad or this band was good. So we had the additional like confirmation of like, okay, we're gonna go with this one, or it has a reputation of being good or bad. So I'm glad that we got a diverse group. I'll be attending the CPRS, the California Parks and Recreation Society, so I don't know if anybody in West Covina staff will be attending there as well.
No, because Heather was on our staff, but she went to Monrovia.
Got it.
Yeah,
Priscilla's
no.
going out Thursday, but on her own.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, Thursday, I'm actually presenting, Thursday, bright and early morning. So I'll be there presenting. And I'm participating on the West Covina basketball charity event, which is tomorrow, so I'm not sure if all of you heard. It's going to be at West Covina High School. All proceeds go to the student scholarship. So if any of you want to see the like NBA players versus like different city, you know, LAPD, LA commissioners and so forth, just a variety of different people play, and it'll be fun. It's the first one that they're having, so if you're available tomorrow, go ahead and stop by. I'll be actually playing on the court, so that's interesting.
What time is it?
I think it's 6. I'll have a flyer. Luann is.
I know they sold out of tickets. Do they sell tickets at all?
I think she still has tickets left. Adults, it's $15. Youth, it's $10. There's a food truck there, autograph signing after, and just fun stuff. But Luann she's the one in charge of that, so she has the tickets and the flyers. But I could forward the flyer if anyone's interested. And then the track, Edgewood track, beautiful. We went one night, my family and I, it was like nobody there, so we were able to run on the first and the second, you know, it was okay. But I'm glad they did enforce. My daughter just kept running. She outran all of us, and she's only 5. We couldn't keep up one lap or two, but I'm glad they did enforce no dogs, none of the above stuff. So it was nice, it's clean, it was fresh, so that was really good. Other than that, nothing else.
Thank you. Yeah, the concert share was a great experience. There's so many bands to listen to, and I was really happy that my favorite out of all of them, Smokin' Cobra, was chosen for 4th of July. And a couple other really good ones that maybe sometime in the future. There was a Tom Petty tribute band and a few others that didn't make the cut, but the ones that were picked were all really good. Glad to see that. It's really an interesting way they have of doing things. Some of the performers were there, as well as the people in charge of the bands, just promoting them as best they could. Also, I'd also like to say, to mention that the city's going to miss Heather. She did a great job. I just talked to her Thursday about something she was working on for me that she got done the last minute before leaving, and wish her well at her new position in Monrovia. I also attended Porto's groundbreaking, which was a great event, and you know it took a long time coming, but it's in the process now. And you know, it seems like everybody you talk to is really anxious to have that Porto's in our community. And there's also the Gaucho Grill groundbreaking, and interesting that Raul Porto from Porto's was there at the Gaucho Grill event. And that was a little different than your typical groundbreaking, with members of the city council actually using a sledgehammer to try and tear down part of the building. Also, there was a community meeting that Chick-fil-A had to try and get support for their plans, which is going to be a battle with the Planning Commission and the City Council because of their desire for a drive-through. But I do believe that they've come up with the best possible design for that, given the traffic issues and the location. But you know, it is a good location for a real sit-down, white tablecloth type restaurant. but it's been been empty for a couple of years now, and apparently Chick-fil-A is really the only viable tenant on the horizon.
Like tablecloth restaurant that's available.
There hasn't been any interest. There was one brief moment a while back, but that fell through. Also, there was a meeting to showcase the plans for a new assisted living center at North Garvey and Sunset, and they have a really nice plan, I think. It would be very unobtrusive in an area where you really don't even see the lot because of the trees on Sunset, and they've got a really good plan for a nice facility, and hopefully that will get through all the planning commission and all the environmental studies. And last February 15th was the West Covina Beautiful 95th City West Covina birthday party, which was a nice success. And as a different element this year, the dinner portion of the event was followed by a casino night, which was really a blast. And hopefully it'll be done again next year, and there'll be more people attending that event. Okay, that's what I had. Oh, also, it's my understanding that the issue of marijuana cultivation will be brought back on the city council agenda.
There you go.
Relatively soon. Okay, any items to be agendized?
Did you want to take a break to review?
Yeah, I was gonna, since we passed the item, the evaluation of the nominations for the Golden American Award, let's take about a 5 or 10 minute break to look through the applications, and then we'll resume.
Just two.
Yeah, there's a lot of material here.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Den,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
Commissioner Pena,
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart.
15.
Vice Chair Lopez,
Yes.
Chair Kaufman.
Yes. And so we have nominated Mr. Early. Since we have a choice of one, that takes care of agenda item number 2. And having already discussed upcoming events, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Hearing no opposition, the meeting is hereby adjourned.
I just realized that when we vote, like,